el racismo es un mecanismo que ha sido imprescindible para poder operar la explotación, la expoliación, el saqueo, como una estructura desigual de relación, de tomas de decisiones, de relación de poder. Para que ello suceda, me parece que es este mecanismo, lo mismo que sucede con la situación del sexismo, tiene que ser penetrado de manera muy profunda y desde etapas muy tempranas, para que entonces las personas puedan creer o operar que eso es normal o que hay algo que es tolerable vivir en una sociedad racista. Y ese es el caso de México. Entre otras cosas, el proyecto de mestizaje en México ha hecho pensar que, en efecto, todas y todos tenemos como distintos orígenes mezclados y entonces no somos racistas.
The connection between skin tones and colonialism is actually almost direct. I mean, the very idea of people being divided into into color tones, into where white is at the top of the sort of ladder and black comes at the very bottom, and then in between there are all these other variations, brown, yellow. This goes back to the 18th century and even earlier, and the idea of dividing people, and the role of and the thinking behind that was just a justification for colonialism, because at its heart, colonialism is basically pillaging and raping a country and sort of depleting it of its resources. And at its heart, it's actually forcing people to come, whether that's sort of chattel slavery or indentured labor of people who are darker skinned and than their sort of quote-unquote rulers or masters. So the direction between skin and colonialism goes back, to the beginning of colonialism, maybe even to the Roman Empire and the Arab civilizations of the 7th and 8th century, in which slavery was a big part of its economic and political domination.
It's always hard to remember, for example, that whiteness is a construction, right? And how whiteness has existed and how it's changed. How we understand it is a very, very recent production, right? Really the late 19th century to the early 20th century is where whiteness as we understand it is being consolidated. If you look into the United States, you see very clear hierarchies originally as people are colonizing with, the WASP, the white Anglo-Saxon Protestant at the top, and Eastern Europeans are below that. Irish are below that. And then as they're consolidating both in imperial wars in the Philippines and in Samoa, and also of course against indigenous people committing genocide at home, there becomes something that's functional in the notion of let's all be white. And you see those divisions at least functionally reduce. We see the same thing, of course, with this process of what Noel Ignatieff in his book, he has a really good book called How the Irish Became White. And what he suggests is that whiteness is conferred in return for complicity to state brutality. And so he looks at how the Irish at home in Ireland were colonized people by England and took common cause with Africans. They understood that they were fighting the same enemy. But then when the Irish come to the United States, initially they are taking common cause with Africans and rising up in slave rebellions. And we see rebellions between indentured Irish and Black people. And then racism is a mechanism that actually comes to disrupt that and say your allegiance shouldn't be with this Black worker, it should be with the white boss because you're all white. And we start to see the Irish participating in brutality against Black people, marches through Black communities saying that it should be white workers and not Black workers. And we see this division.